Attorney General Maura Healey announced her run for Massachusetts governor in January. She's competing with State Senator Sonia Chang-Díaz for the Democratic nomination. Maura Healey joins me now. Attorney General, it's good to see you.
Great to be with you, Jim.
Why are you running?
Well, I love Massachusetts. I believe so much in our state, Jim. I believe in our people. I also believe that while Massachusetts has some of the best schools and hospitals and innovative companies and know-how, too many in Massachusetts, too many families are just not sharing in that prosperity. And I want to be a governor who changes that, who moves us forward as we move through this pandemic. I want to invest in our people. I want to invest in infrastructure, in transportation, and in housing. I want to be the most aggressive governor in the country when it comes to the climate crisis. I want to fix our childcare system that right now is a barrier to so many returning to work, especially women. And I want to bring priorities of my own to this office. I've spent a lot of time, as you know, working on issues of the opioid epidemic and substance use disorder. And as governor, I believe deeply that we need to commit resources to mental health so that more people in the state, I don't want a situation where a single child or person in the state doesn't have access to the behavioral health services that they need. And finally, as I've done as Attorney General, I want to put equity. I want to put equity as a lens on everything that we do. So I have the vision, I have the ideas, and I know that we are capable of so much more in this state. It's a matter of collaborating, it's a matter of convening, it's a matter of leading, and that's what I intend to do.
So if you were to be elected to follow a pretty popular guy as governor, Charlie Baker, the night of his State of the State, you're quoted as saying, terrific speech, a terrific positive message. At the same time, your Democratic opponent basically trashed it, saying no sense of urgency on things like COVID and climate. That was just one night. Let's look at 7 years. How would you rate Charlie Baker's years in office?
I think in many respects, Governor Baker has done a really excellent job in stewarding our state. And I will tell you that there have been times where he and I have not agreed on everything. We've had some different philosophies about things. But, he always brought to the table and brought to the game an earnestness and a commitment to trying to do the right thing to help people here. And I think that's what we ask of those who serve in government. Now, Charlie Baker will no longer be governor. And so as we look ahead, I am talking to people and I am listening to people about what they need and what they see here in the state. And I know that I will be a governor who will lead with principle, with values, who will put people at the center of what we do. My job has been over the last 7 years to try to take care of residents, to try to stand up for people, look after those who are vulnerable, to work in helping to support our small businesses. And as governor, you have to have that ability to bring people together, to listen, including to opposing views, and to try to collaborate with partners to get things done. And I think that's what people in this state are looking for. They are looking for action. They are looking for results, particularly in the areas that I've mentioned. We've got a real problem with a high cost of living in this state. We've got a housing crisis in this state. Rents are unaffordable, mortgages unattainable for some. And we've got a desperate need, an urgent need, particularly now as we're receiving federal funding, to invest that money in much needed infrastructure and transportation. And when it comes to, I think, what is the most serious issue of our time right now that we're confronting, the climate crisis, Massachusetts has an opportunity with the next governor to move us forward, to move us from fossil fuels to renewables, to build a clean energy economy where everyone can thrive and prosper and share in. And it's going to require innovation. It's going to require know-how, and it's going to require somebody who's going to be out there listening and looking to collaborate. And I think that's what I bring to this.
You said that Charlie Baker's done a, quote, really excellent job. Has he done a really excellent job on climate, the issue you just mentioned?
No, and I said he's done, to be clear, I said Governor Baker's done a really excellent job in many respects. And I
what would
point,
you
for
have done
example,
differently?
to the work
what would you have done differently on climate?
Done on combating the opioid crisis. That's an area where we worked together extensively. I'm sure that if you go back and you look at the last 7 years, people can see there are times where we have disagreed and differed on things. But the point here, Jim, is this. We are moving forward, and we are moving forward out of a pandemic when we've got real serious issues we've got to confront here in the state. There's not an industry right now in our state that isn't having an issue with workforce development, literally finding workers to do the job. And so one thing the next governor needs to do, and I'm committed to this, is making sure that we have the job training programs and the like in place, working with our vocational schools, community colleges, high schools, and higher ed, so that we are training up people with the job skills that they need to align with the jobs that are available in the Commonwealth here today. And that's just an example of something that requires tremendous urgency. I'm giving a lot of thought to that right now. I'm talking to a lot of people about this problem as we move through COVID and confront the situation that we're in right now. And, you know, as I say, Massachusetts is, in my view, the greatest state in the country. But we have our challenges, and I believe that with those challenges, we have some real opportunities to do things going forward.
With your permission, though, let me ask again, what would you have done differently on climate issues than Charlie Baker?
I probably would have worked to push even more an effort into renewables, but I think the administration has really done a lot in that realm. You know, but again, I don't think the voters in Massachusetts are particularly interested in what woulda, coulda, shoulda, might have been done. I think voters need to know what I'm going to do as governor. And when I say, when it comes to climate, I'll be the most aggressive governor in the country on climate, I will be. I also know that it's not the work of any one governor alone. You have to work regionally on this issue with other governors. You have to work with the federal government on this issue as well. You have to work with the business community on this issue as well. You got to bring a range of stakeholders together to get to where we need to go. When you think about what we need to do in this space, building out the infrastructure, building the resiliency, electrifying our cars and our buses and our transit systems in particular. When you think about the work that we need to do to make sure that the wind and renewables being produced offshore are actually able to navigate the grid and be transmitted into businesses and homes so that people benefit from that. These are things that we need to work on. We're starting to work on them. We just need to do so with an urgency and an investment that we haven't brought to bear yet. And now with the federal funds coming in, we have that opportunity, and I look forward to doing that. I want to do that aggressively as governor.
Maura Healey, we're the only state in the country, I'm sure you know, where the legislature, the judiciary, and the governor's office claim an exemption from the public records law. Would you change that? Would you claim the same exemption as Governor Baker, or would you be the opt-out in that threesome?
Well, first of all, I'm the person here who's complied with the public records law for years. My office is subject to the public records law, and we are regularly complying with that and responding to requests for public information. Jim, I'm about transparency. I'm about providing information to the public. You know, we work really at the behest of and for taxpayers who deserve the accountability and transparency in government. So as governor, I'm not going to change that. Whether or not the law requires it, I have already said that I would make the executive branch subject to the public records.
I know you want to talk about Baker's record. I want to talk about yours briefly as Attorney General. You opposed the legalization of marijuana in 2016, recreational. Do you regret that 6 years later?
I wouldn't say that I regret it, Jim. I think that at the time in 2016, I was very concerned about the effect that was going to have on young people with respect to use, with respect to addiction, with respect to mental health.
Were you wrong?
I think I'll leave that for others to judge. I'll tell you what I have done, Jim, is I've worked really hard to make social justice advocates my appointees to the Cannabis Commission, because one of the reasons, if you look back in terms of supporting legalization, was to try to have this be something that would redound to the benefit of communities that had for far too long been ravaged by things like the ill-guided war on drugs, right? Mm-hmm. And as Attorney General, I have really tried to focus on that, both through the people who I have appointed and the positions that I've taken, because, you know, we're the industry to come, and it's come. I just want to make sure that everybody is able to share in the benefits and the gains of that industry. And I think we still have more work to do when it comes to the social justice issues that were in fact driving a lot of the proponents of that law.
Maura Healey, I'm sorry. Okay, Maura Healey, you've talked about both tonight and since your announcement about looking at everything through an equity lens. Reparations. A reparations bill looks in good shape in the United States House of Representatives, not in the Senate. President supports a commission. The city of Boston is talking about it. Where would you take Massachusetts on the issue of reparations should you be governor?
You know, reparations, Jim, is something I got to give more thought to be honest. I'm glad to see Congress taking it up. I'm glad to see them taking this on. I think what's important here, though, in Massachusetts is that we make sure that all of our policies, that all of our laws, that all of the actions taken out of any given particular state agency are done, as I have done as Attorney General, with a conscious, intentional knowledge and focus on whether those actions are going to make racial disparities worse or better. And that's what I mean about the equity lens that we need to apply across government, across all agencies, to make sure that we are being mindful of and taking stock of what has happened through structures and systems that for far too long have disadvantaged and disproportionately hurt people of color in this state. And I think that you have the opportunity through both budgeting decisions, as well as through rulemaking, policymaking, and the actions of state agencies to really have an imprint of equity across all of state government.
Maura Healey, it's really good to see you. Hope to see you a ton in the months ahead. Thanks so much for your time.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Jim. Great to be with you.
You too.